Hello, my family. So today we are going to be canning up just plain old blueberries, just in within their own liquid, or topping it off with water. I'm adding no sugar whatsoever to these blueberries. They do say that sugar does help to preserve the coloring and the texture, but honestly, I'm just going to use these for baking. I'm not worried about it. And with my husband being diabetic, as you all know, I'm not going to add sugar to it. I could add alternative sugar and stuff, but I'm not going through that. And I'm at this point, I'm frustrated big time, and I'll explain in a minute. So I'm going to give you a quick review or a quick show of what we're going to be doing, and then I'm going to come right back to you for a minute before we go to the canning station. So I'm going to show you what we're working on, and we shall be right back. Okay, according to the ball canning book, what I'm doing right now is I'm adding just a little bit of water to my blueberries, and I'm just going to heat these through. We're going to be canning these in pint jars that I've got heated in the water bath canner, and so that's basically all we're going to do with these. It's going to be a very simple process, and I'm going to walk you through this. It's real simple. If you got a bunch of blueberries in your freezer like I do and need to get rid of them, I got ways to do it, honey. So this is what we're going to be doing today. And I'm going to talk with you briefly about a few things that I've learned. And then we will begin finishing this while my blueberries are heating up anyways. So we're going to go back to talking for a few minutes, and then I'll set you up for the canning station. Okay, so to begin with, I have spent 3 days, 2 nights. Today, I've had it. So I've spent 3 days, 2 nights to the point where I have researched and I've watched and I've watched and I've seeking to find. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure many of you have already discovered this, that finding a way to can blueberry jam for a diabetic or strawberry jam for diabetics, this is hard, folks. Absolutely hard. I may be starting something that needs to be done, seriously. Now, I did find a strawberry, no sugar whatsoever jam recipe from Mary's Nest, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to be using the pink box, the no sugar, low sugar pectin, and absolutely not even any alternative sugars in my jam. I mean, if I wanted to, I can open up the jar. We can always add a little pack or two of whatever his favorite sugar is in the jar, and he eats he eats jam up pretty quick. So but every berry has its own natural sugar anyways, especially if you cook it, so you really want to be careful about adding sweeteners anyways. But sweeteners, okay, so in a lot of my research, I've even had to download on Kindle the home cooked preservation book. I didn't have that one, so I guess I need to one day order that book and get it too. But there is basically only two types of sugar that are used in canning, and unfortunately, and it's many that you are highly against, and I get that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of these either, but there are only two that have been truly tested, and one of those two I'm going to be using in my blueberry jam. Now, you can take chances after learning what I'm about to say for your own selves, and that's absolutely fine. But there's not enough sugar in this product that I'm going to use to really make that much of a difference. And if it puts blueberry jam on the table for him, I'm going to do that. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a cinnamon vanilla blueberry jam. And here is what I've learned about the sugars. The two sugars that have been tested is stevia and Splenda, or sucralose. Stevia, they have found that there is somewhat of an aftertaste to it and even a bitterness. Now, the one thing that they say is you can use like Splenda a one-on-one to sugar. What they do recommend is do not use more than 3 cups. That is the limit. And honestly, I don't even think I would use that much in my jams. The recipe I'm using is only going to use a half a cup. It only calls for 3 cups of crushed berries, so I'm only using a half a cup. I'm making a small amount. I don't need a whole big stock of blueberry jam or any jam on my shelf anyways. Versus regular sugar to our sugar, it does not, it doesn't hold like normal table sugar does. The table sugar tends to have firmness to your jellies. It tends to keep your coloring. They say that ours does not last that long. I get it. It's an alternative. So I don't plan on making a huge batch of it anyways. So what they said about Splenda, now it is recommended once you get to your, and many of you who do can, you know that we will get to that rolling boiling point and we cook after we add the pectin for 1 minute. They are stating do not add the sugar while you're cooking it. Wait until you're getting ready to jar up your product and then add the Splenda to it. So don't basically cook, roll with it, just add it at the very last end of your cooking. 2 that are absolute no, and I won't even have in this homestead, aspartame and saccharin. Neither one of them are recommended whatsoever. And like I said again, I would not even have that in this homestead. So I just thought I'd throw that out there in case anybody is using it. Monk fruit. Now, it has been said, because now these are the newer products since the alternative sugars have been used in canning, even with Ball, home preservation, all of them. Monk fruit, allulose, these are new products that have come out after all the tests were done. It has been said, and I have seen quite a few pictures of them. Monk fruit will leave this beautiful looking effect in your jar, but not something you want. It has been shown that monk fruit will crystallize and it'll kind of make it look like a snowflake in your jar. It's really pretty. However, you're going to be eating a lot of grit. Allulose is one of those products that have not been tested whatsoever yet. There's a lot of products that we have that have never been tested. So when you do this, I'm not going to make any recommendations because I don't even know. These will be totally up to you to try in your own kitchens, homesteads, whatever. So I'm just not willing to try that yet. There's enough that I'm having to do at this moment that it's driving me crazy. I'm just going to do what I have. The cost of everything is stupid crazy. Stevia, even that, I haven't even tested my husband's blood sugar for it because the price of stevia is stupid for a little bitty bag. So I am going to forewarn you, I will be using, not per se Splenda name brand, but I am going to be using sucralose in my blueberry jam and my strawberry jam. I'm not going to use any sugar whatsoever. So at this point, I know I've had some suggestions, and I thank you all very much, but like I said, I guess I'm the bookworm of the homesteads, and I do so much research. Sometimes I drive myself completely crazy over this, and I cannot believe, honestly, I cannot believe, as big as the internet is, such little information there is for a diabetic. It kind of ticks me off. So if I'm the homestead that starts something, hallelujah, because somebody needs it. I get this. I need it. So I'm taking the researching and the time and the frustration of it all. I got so much lacking behind. I got to catch up again, but it's worth it. If I can help somebody else out, it's totally worth it. If my husband can have his jam and the things that he likes, it's worth it. So I'll do the sacrifices. But then again, I want you to do your own research. If you find something, let me know. Let the rest of us know, because we need that help, folks. Most all of the recipes that I found, there's a lot of people using no pectin whatsoever. Well, I'm sorry, if you are using no pectin, you've got to have a sugar base somehow. And these substitute sugars don't have enough of the stabilization that a table sugar does to do a no pectin sugar base or a sugar uh, I'll get it out in a minute, I promise, jams. Others are using things like agave, or they're using honey, and look, not every diabetic can do that either. I know mine can't. So here we are. I'm doing the best I can with what I have, what I know, what is true, what is safer, and that's it. Because the rest of this stuff that's out there is just low sugar. They're using table sugar. They're using alternatives we can't use. So maybe you can. If you do, there are some recipes out there, just to let you know, that have honey and use that as a sugar alternative. That's great. I mean, that's something you guys can use. So I'll let you know that's out there. I'll let you know that if you're doing just cutting down your sugars, there's plenty of information out there for that. What there isn't is alternatives and how to make jam for a diabetic. So I'm going to use with what I found, and I am going to go ahead and be the one to put it out here. So for right now, that's going to be other videos. Today I'm doing simple. After all of this, I'm just going to can my blueberries, and that's it. Again, I am not using any sugar base, just regular juice and water. I'm going to be boiling up a small pot of water in case I have to top my jars. So I'm going to take you to the canning station, and we're going to can up some blueberries today. Lots of them. So let's go over to the canning station. If you're wanting to follow this, I'm using the Guide to Preserving book, basically the very first blue book from Ball. And on page 19, they have the recipe in here on how to canning whole berries. So at the very bottom of it, for berries for baking, it does say omit sugar from recipe and cook in a small amount of water until berries are hot throughout, and process as if you would for hot packing. That's exactly what I'm going to do today. So our berries are just about heated through, and we're going to actually start canning these up, and actually very shortly. So we will be back to that, and I will try to, hopefully you can see this good enough. So I'm going to try to show you how to do this. Okay, so our berries are now heated through, nice dark color, and we're going to go ahead and begin to start canning these. Okay, so now we're going to remove our hot jars from the water bath canner, and I am actually going to fill these up. I'm going to do a few at a time here. So, and like I said, I'm going to try to use their own juice as much as possible. You'd be amazed at the people that I've actually seen doing this too. They'll leave a 1-inch head space. According to the Ball Canning book, honestly, it's called for a 1/2-inch head space. So please make sure you do that with the berries and the liquid. You want the liquid covering these berries. These are going to cook for 15 minutes, so you really don't want to boil these berries down. Like I said, just till they're heated through, and the reason for that again is they're going to be processed for 15 minutes, so you don't want all mush. So we're just going to go ahead and start filling up our jar here. And these were previously frozen, so they're going to be softer basically than fresh berries anyways. And they were already washed and everything before I put them in the freezer, and all the stems were removed. However, I did happen to find a few stems I missed. Frustrating. I guess you look at blueberries long enough and you end up missing a few here and there. So because they stain, I'm going to try to move these jars a lot closer to my pan over here too. I've already got blue fingers already. I'll test these out as I go along as far as the head space is too, because I can always add more. I've got my lids simmering over there, and I actually just turned them off. I don't want them boiling because I don't want the seals to get too soft. Man, these are so pretty, y'all. I'd much rather have these. Oops. Oh, I seen something I didn't like. There's a stem in here. See, that's what I was saying. I miss a few every now and then. Now you know why I got blue fingers, right? Let me get a spoon for this. Happens to the best of us, I reckon. Now we'll check where we're at here. I firmly pack these. And this is the hot pack method. I'm not using the cold pack method, so some of these could stand to add a little more to it. I may not get a whole lot of them, but if I can get at least 6 jars, I'm happy. I'm just topping them off now. If I wanted to, I can always add more, but I'm also wanting to reserve it for, oh, I added too much in that one now. Good day. But I wanted to make some of that blueberry jam for him too, because the price at the store is crazy. And they ain't nothing like homegrown anyways, so. Okay. So I pretty much got these filled to I need them to be. Now I'm just going to add the juice to them to the 1/2 inch head space. I still got some of that liquid in there, but not a lot. And like I said, if I get to a point where I start running out of juice, I've always got water over here that I can add to it. So I'll get the ladle for the juice, and we'll start filling them up to the 1/2 inch space. Boy, these are so pretty. Trying to do this without crushing my berries too is not as easy as it looks. Especially when they've been frozen. I just knew I wasn't going to go through them all freezing, and they're, to me, better off putting them on my shelf than leaving them in that freezer. I don't really particularly like freezer burn, and I really don't want to waste a good berry we picked this summer, so. I will debubble these after I get these filled, and then check the head space and make sure everything is right. I think I'm going to top this one with water. Leave some of this juice for my next jars. Now we're going to go ahead and debubble these. Just making sure that there are no bubbles in these jars. Distributing the berries around. Blueberries are definitely a messy job, but oh so worth it. I'm hoping you're being able to see this done, y'all. Water bath canning is one of the simplest canning you can do. It's kind of one of those set it and forget it type of things, although I wouldn't walk away completely. But you can set your timer, let it do its thing, and then turn it off. Unlike the pressure canner, you've got to really babysit that one. So it's been a long time since I've done anything water bath though. Lately everything's been pressure canned. So we're going to go ahead and check the head space for a 1/2 inch head space all the way around it. Clean off our rims, and then we're going to seal our jars. Yeah, I need to, since debubbling, we've got to add some more of our liquid, so we're going to use the water for that one. They didn't need much though. And now that they're all topped off, we'll double check again. Yep. Perfect. That one needs just a tad bit more. And we got it. So now what I do is I take my rims. I will dip mine in vinegar while I clean my rims off. Make sure that there's no debris, no nothing that's going to interfere with that seal from my jars. And we're going to just take these around, wipe them down really good. Just like so. And you can do this with any of your berries, with blackberries, blueberries. They gave a whole list. Raspberries you can do that with as well. Now I'm going to take my magnet, my warm lids, and top them on the top. If they don't stick together. I try not to touch the ring or the inside of them either. I try just to get the edges. They don't always work that way either. And then we take our rings, set our rings. Heck, it's a little warm. You only want to do this finger tight. Basically, you don't want to put blunt force to this. It does have to have expansion stuff, so I only just do it finger tight, and that's it. So, and that is highly recommended. They need room to breathe. And then when we put them in our water bath canner, you want to have at least 2 inches above the jar in your canner. So Make sure you have at least 2 inches above these jars. Look, see how pretty that is? Absolutely gorgeous. And I'll just stick them in my canner and go for the next round. I can fit 9 pints inside of this canner. So that's what we're trying to go for, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get that many. So I'm going to go ahead and bring out 3 more and see how many more we can actually get. This is only 1.5 gallons, so I didn't expect to have way too many of them. Like I said, I'll be happy if I can get 5 or 6. But if I get less than that, I'm alright with that too. Now we'll go ahead and fill these jars. I'm going to go ahead and finish these off, and I shall bring you back for the next step. Okay, so now we actually managed to get 7 pints. Yeah, I'm happy with that. 2 pints less of a full canner, but this will work. So our next step at this point is I'm going to put this on medium high, which for me is about 4. I'm going to put the lid on this, bring this up to a rolling boil. Once it reaches a rolling boil, this will be processed for 15 minutes. And at the end of the 15 minutes, I will come back and let you know what the next step is. While we're waiting for the canner to come to a full rolling boil, I figured I'd let you know what tonight's pantry meal is. So I love doing what I do, y'all. I actually took out a quart jar of chili, and I'm going to add some of our little red beans to it. Again, this is one of those complex carbs. Yes, you can get too many of them, so these don't have a whole lot in it mixed in with this chili, so they do break down over time. I do watch it. I don't add a whole lot to my chili, so, but that's what I think we're going to have tonight. Easy 10-minute meal, heat and eat, and that's about it. So I thought you'd find this quite interesting too, why we do this. I'm going to get to a point, hopefully, where I can do some salmon too, and I can make salmon patties and stuff with. But yep, it was nice just go in the pantry and know that I can pop a jar, throw it in a pot, and that's supper tonight. So that's what we're having. It's the last cold night, basically, until, I guess, next week from what we're hearing. So we'll see. I'm going to enjoy the warm weather that we can get as much as I can. But tonight we're going to stay warm. So that's what we're having. And I'm still waiting on this thing to come to a full rolling boil. So once that happens, we'll go from there. Okay, so our canner finally reached a full rolling boil. So at this point, I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and just let it sit. Now, I will say that these canners, if you think of how big these are, it can hold 9 pints. There's a lot of water when you got to add it to about 2 inches above the level of the lids too. So they do take some time to bring up to a full rolling boil. So just be patient with your canner. Don't full blast the heat on it. I left mine at medium and waited its turn. With the water, it could be the factor of temperatures and all that too. So it takes some patience, but you'll get there. So we are at our point. We're waiting our 15 minutes. In the meantime, making a pot of unsweetened tea for hubby. I'm going to go take the trash out front, and once this is finished, we will come back and I will show you what to do on your next step. Okay, so our timer just went off, so at this point I'm going to turn my stove off. Let this settle down for just a few minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the lid, and I'll show you actually the best way. For those who's not canned before, who might be interested, I'm going to show you the best way to do this. So as soon as this comes down, just a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and open up this lid, and then we're going to set this for 5 more minutes just to let the jars sit in there, let everything come to a settling point, Then after that, we're going to be bringing our jars out of the canner. And I'm actually going to be putting it on, I made my own mats. Now this one here is extremely old. I need to do some more of them. 100% cotton, they're thick mats. So these are great to put my canning jars on. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this next. So when I open up my lids now, usually I use a pot holder, but I'm using my sleeve right now. So I'm going to take it and open it away from me, so this way you don't get burned by the steam. And we're just going to let this come down and set our timer for 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Set this aside, set our timer for 5 minutes, and we will be back when it's time to bring these out. Okay, so our timer had just gone off now, so we'll set this aside, and we're going to go ahead and start pulling our jars out of the canner. Now I'm going to use this in the end to just kind of feather top the tops of them to get the water off of it. I don't like dumping my jars as I'm pulling them out, because basically I don't want to mess with the seals. So we're just going to pull these out nice and gently, and then put them out on the side like this. Oh, these are so pretty. Look at that. Now they do say that somehow the sugar tends to hold color, but I'm at the point I'm just going to be baking with these too. So just know, even when I do my strawberry jam, when we don't use sugar, we can end up losing some of the color in our jars. It does not mean that they're gone bad. It just means that they're discoloring. So, I mean, that's just part of the life of what we have to live with, I guess. So, I'm trying to keep this where y'all can see this. I'm wanting to give these space in between so that they'll end up sealing too, where they're not on top of each other. I like to give mine room. Organize it like that, where I can give them space. That way they can cool off enough with each other. Oh, didn't like that one. Hopefully that one will seal. If not, I'll just use it in the fridge and use it right away. I've done good so far without getting any siphoning, so it's hard too, because like I said, we've got these temps and I struggle with canning right now. Sometimes I think I'm playing in danger territory, but so now I'm just going to take this and just tap the top. I'm not even really going to touch this much, just to get some of this water off the top of it. I don't want to put any pressure and create false seals on my lids, so I just want to get some of that excess water off the top of them. That's all I'm doing. And now these will sit here for 12 hours, and I'll take the rims off, wash my jars, and then store them in my pantry. And that's about as good as I'm going to get them. So the heat will clear them off even more. So that's it, folks. Now I just sit here and wait for these pops to top, or these tops to pop. Yeah, I'll get it right. But other than that, that's it. And I really sincerely hope that you enjoyed this video. I do plan on doing some jam within the next day or two. We do have some errands to do, some records to go get for my husband too, and we got some rain coming. So sometime by the end of this week, I'm going to get in another video or two with the processing of jams. So until then, much love. Hope you enjoyed this from Parton's Heritage Homestead.